My entitled aunt uses my mother's hospitalization as an excuse to have a vacation, and I honestly could not be more upset with how toxic and entitled she began to act. Here's what happened. So this took place a few weeks ago, and this involves my entitled aunt and her bratty son by the name of Charlie. So my parents had just gotten back from a 2-week vacation back in August, and a few days after they got back, my mom was hospitalized due to a cardiac event. It was really bad. She didn't get released until a month later. Because the hospital in our town kind of sucks, and is responsible for her first cardiac event, she was in a hospital 4 hours away. My dad was up there 75% of the time, and I would go up every weekend. Well, the second weekend, my dad was down there already, but my aunt and her son Charlie said that they were going to visit my mom and asked me if I wanted to go down with them, which I agreed to do, even though that meant I would have to spend essentially an entire day with both of them. For context, my aunt and her son are absolutely unbearable. They're spoiled, they're bratty, and they are both very toxic individuals. My aunt is incredibly entitled, and her son by the name of Charlie is also just a spoiled, rotten brat. So I gave my aunt $100 to cover gas and food, since they were both doing me a solid and taking me with them. Well, it started on the wrong foot almost immediately, when we were supposed to be on the road by 7 at the latest, and she didn't show up until 8 o'clock. And to top it all off, Charlie was already having a tantrum because he wanted a cappuccino. By the way, this kid is 8 years old. Eventually, my entitled aunt let him have a large cappuccino, which in my opinion is just way too much for an 8-year-old. It was 4 hours of Charlie complaining about the Grand Canyon trip that he took with my entitled aunt. All the while, my aunt was making passive-aggressive remarks about me not babysitting her dog, as well as making racist comments about random strangers whenever we would stop for Charlie to use the bathroom. She even had the audacity to use the fact that she was a social worker to justify her views, which is honestly just disgusting. After 4 long hours of dealing with these two insufferable people, when we finally got close to the city, Charlie suddenly decided that he didn't want to visit my hospitalized mother anymore. Instead, he wanted to play mini golf, which I can understand to an extent. He's a kid after all, and what kid wants to hang out in a hospital? But worst of all, my entitled aunt chimes in and actually agrees with Charlie. She then starts making suggestions of what they could do while they're in town, such as visiting the zoo and maybe playing mini golf and laser tag. And I honestly could not believe what I was hearing. Charlie then asked me if I wanted to play mini golf with him, and then got incredibly upset when I said no. I was down there to be with my mom and my dad, especially my mom who's in the hospital. My entitled aunt then said, "You can just go check in with your dad for a few minutes, and then you can come join us. Because honestly, what else are you going to do?" And at this point, Charlie is once again reiterating that he really wanted me to play golf with him. And trust me when I say this, what Charlie wants, he gets. I might have made it just a little bit worse, but I was tired and stressed out, and I asked how they would fit time to visit my mom if they spent the whole day playing golf and going to the zoo. My entitled aunt waved it off and said, "Your mom is going to be here for a while. We can visit her some other time." And honestly, that just kind of made me more angry, because my mom may not have been in a critical condition anymore, but that didn't mean she was completely out of the woodwork. My entitled aunt admitted to using what happened to my mom as an excuse to come to this city for a day of fun between her and Charlie, and I just could not believe what I was hearing. I told her it was kind of terrible that she treated what happened to my mom as a way for her to have some kind of vacation. That's when my entitled aunt looked at me and said, "Your opinion doesn't matter. I didn't even need to bring you here. You should be glad that I even brought you." And it was these kinds of remarks, along with how she's a single mother and doesn't get many chances to do things with Charlie. And at this point, I chose to stop talking to her. She dropped me off at the hospital, not even at the entrance, mind you. I had to walk around the entire building just to get into the wing that my mom was at. She did come back to pick me up some hours later, and I guess my dad talked to her because she was very clearly irate about it. She at least had the decency to ask how my mom was, and then when I told her how she's doing, she commented about how I shouldn't have expected anything else, and basically there was no point in me visiting until she wakes up. Charlie was also in a bad mood because I guess the zoo didn't have any of the animals that he wanted, and he didn't get to go golfing because he didn't want to golf alone since I didn't come along. Thankfully though, my mom did recover and she did come home, but I can honestly say I will never take any kind of trip with my aunt or her son ever again. Your aunt sounds like an absolute nightmare. She literally used your mom being in the hospital as an excuse to go to the zoo and have a good time, instead of paying her a visit and going to see if she's okay. And the fact that she tried to persuade you to not go in there and visit your mom and spend time with her is absolutely crazy to me. Hopefully you have little to no contact with this lady, because when it all comes down to it, I really don't think she cares about you or your immediate family in the slightest. My boyfriend is calling me controlling and saying that I need therapy because I got upset that he didn't tell me where he went this morning. And at this point, I don't know what to do. I'm a 20-year-old female and my boyfriend is 25. I spent the night at my boyfriend's house last night. This morning, morning, I wake up and he's not in the room, which is whatever. He was gone for like 15 minutes or something. I go to use the bathroom and I brush my teeth. I come out and he walks in the front door. I'm standing in the hallway and he's walking towards me, so I say, "Hey, where'd you go?" And he replies by saying that he didn't go anywhere and walks past me to go into the bedroom. I follow him in and he shuts the door behind me. Then he makes a sarcastic joke about being out cheating with a girl. The girl he mentioned is someone who lives a couple doors down from him on the same floor, and we've been having little arguments about her because I was annoyed that she sends him selfies on Snapchat and acts as if she has a crush on him, even though he doesn't see it that way. And worst of all, he has always been like this. He tries to be funny by making inappropriate jokes about cheating with girls that I get jealous over. So I start getting a little upset, not just about the joke, but I'm also still thinking about why he brushed off my question. So I ask him again nicely, "Why won't you tell me where you went this morning?" And he replies, "I don't want to tell you." At this point, I'm very upset because a couple of weeks ago, he lied about not responding to me from 7 o'clock at night until the next morning, all because he fell asleep, but he was actually out at his dad's house. We had a discussion about how I don't like being lied to, and I asked him to please not do that anymore. So he keeps avoiding the question and kissing me and hugging me and trying to change the subject. I'm genuinely getting anxiety now, so I tell him again, I'm starting to get a little annoyed. Why won't you just tell me where you went? And he says, "I went to the rooftop." Then he suddenly changed his answer and said that he went to church to pray. So he's telling me two different things now, all while still trying to change the subject. So I'm just laying in his bed, annoyed, and not talking or cuddling him back. And he gets up and goes to sit at his desk. He says, "Are we good?" And I'm like, "No, I'm a little annoyed about the inappropriate joke and why you won't just tell me where you went." He then implies that he's also annoyed and he's no longer in the mood to spend some quality time with me anymore, if you know what I mean, all because apparently I upset him. He then basically says that he's not inviting me over tonight anymore and that he doesn't want to see me over the weekend at all. He then says, "I'm gonna have to change your contact name to weekends only because you obviously can't act right on weekdays." And then the icing on the cake was when he demanded that I apologize to him. So I left and went down to my car and he followed me down there. He said, "We have to talk. Either we're gonna end things right now or you're gonna apologize to me." We sat in my car and he started saying more hateful things that I can't remember. So I was just trying to calm him down and apologize for the way that I brought up the issue. But he kept interrupting me, calling me all kinds of terrible names, telling me that I can walk out the door anytime and he wouldn't even care. Then he angrily gets out of my car while I'm trying to talk to him. He ends up slamming the door and walks into his apartment. So at this point, I just leave and I drive to work. Am I being controlling in this situation? He makes me feel crazy and like I'm the one with the issues. What should I do? This is classic gaslighting in my opinion. This guy is an absolute piece of garbage. He's basically flipping the script and he's making it your fault that you want to know what he did this morning, which by the way, he still has not told you. He's trying to make you question your sanity and he's basically trying to turn this on its head, when in reality, he clearly has an anger issue and he has other issues going on in general. He also basically said that if you walked out, he wouldn't care. And he's trying to use the fact that you could break up as a manipulation tactic to try and keep you in line. In my opinion, you could do so much better than this. You do not need to date someone who's going to act like a child. And based on the way he's acting, I would not take cheating off the table. He's acting really sketchy, he's trying to put you down by calling you names, and he's accelerating this argument after just a simple question. If you really sit down and think about it, he's not being nice at all. So in my opinion, I think it's time to take a good hard look at this relationship, because based on what you've described, this guy is not a winner, and you could do so much better than this. My ex keeps contacting me via different methods, and at this point, I don't know what to do just to get away from him. I'm a 25-year-old female, and I broke up with my boyfriend of 2.5 years 5 months ago. We had come to a very toxic part of our relationship, mostly because of him. For context, he didn't show up for our 1-year anniversary, and he also kept me waiting hours for dates and would yell at me about really stupid things. He would gaslight me, he would never compliment me, and he would never be with me when I felt bad. And worst of all, I could never approach him about anything. He was impossible to reach out to, and he would look at me in disgust anytime I was crying. Honestly, I was a pretty nice, loving, and understanding girlfriend. I dealt with a lot. So after thinking about it for months and my anxiety growing every day, I finally broke it off. The day we broke up, he insisted that I would see him some days after so that he could tell me all the things that he would do to fix our relationship, to which I agreed. When the day came, my anxiety was through the roof, so I apologized to him and I told him that I couldn't do it and that I didn't want to talk. I went to therapy and came to the conclusion that I had to go no contact with him, so I removed him from every social media platform. His relatives, even his grandma, texted me multiple times, telling me to try and give him a chance just to talk, sometimes even insulting me. So as a result, I ended up blocking them as well. It has been 5 months, and he is still contacting me through various means, telling me that he'll love me forever, and that he misses me, and that I'm extraordinary, that our connection will always be there, better and that he is grateful to have met me, as well as some really poetic things and some intense things. I have never replied to anything that he sent me, and it doesn't show up anywhere that I've even read his messages. I know how stupid it sounds, but I love him and I do miss him, but I'm afraid the things he's done and how he was before cannot be fixed, and my mental health is excellent after breaking up with him. I genuinely do feel better. I would appreciate any kind of input on this question, as I don't know if my thoughts are normal. I sometimes feel as if I will never have such a strong connection to someone, but I know that probably is not true. Why is he still texting me? Is it ever a good idea to respond to him? Is it dangerous for him to still contact me for months after being ignored? Is this harassment of some kind? What should I do? First off, I think you need to go back to the beginning of your post and remember all the terrible things that he did to you. He would gaslight you, he would treat you like garbage, he would yell at you, he was very dismissive of you as a person. Like, this was not a good boyfriend. He was an absolute piece of garbage, and you made the step to break up with him. And you said it yourself, your mental health is so much better now that you're away from this man. So why on earth would you even entertain going back to him? Yeah, he's going back to you because he needs a victim that he can play with. He wants a girlfriend that basically will sit there and take all this abuse just for his own amusement. He does not sound like a good person, and he's yet to find somebody else that can fill that role of someone he can just boss around and treat like garbage. That's probably why he's coming back, because he's a narcissist and you were probably like the perfect victim to him. So if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't give this guy any of my time. You're better off without him. You're happier, your mental health has improved, you literally do not need him, but he clearly needs you, and that's not your problem. So block this man on everything and get away from him, because clearly your life is much better without him in it, and I think bringing him back into your life would be a massive mistake. My girlfriend is incredibly clingy, and she does not trust me, and at this point I don't know what to do. I have been in a relationship with this girl who I met on a dating site for about 6 months now. We live in different cities and we see each other on the weekends because of the commute. We usually spend the whole weekend together. Sometimes I come visit her during the week, and sometimes she comes to visit me. I am a very private person. I don't do much social media. I only have a couple of friends from high school and university who I talk to and hang out with regularly, either in person or online. This is one of the longer relationships that I have ever had. I never really had an urge to start dating early, so I don't have that much dating experience. I am introverted and my social battery runs out quite quickly on social occasions. Then I have to take some time for myself to recharge. When it comes to my relationship with my girlfriend, honestly, she has been through a lot, or at least that's what she's told me. She stumbled upon some horrible people, she has been the victim of physical altercations, and one of her previous boyfriends apparently wanted to cheat on her some years into their relationship. Therefore, because of these, I guess she has some serious trust issues. She doesn't have many hobbies or any friends really. She usually watches television shows for fun, and she hangs out with her family, but besides that, she really does not have much going on in her life. When it comes to our relationship, I feel like she literally is obsessed with me. She needs to know what, where, when, and with whom I am doing anything with. She calls me constantly. We are talking like 5 phone calls a day usually, and they are never 5-minute phone calls. When I don't take her phone call, she immediately starts asking what I was doing and why I didn't answer the phone. On top of that, I told her many times that I don't enjoy talking on the phone. I prefer text messages. The first week after I told her, she called me a little less, but now it feels like we're back on the previous number of calls. When I mention any other female to her in day-to-day conversations, such as old classmates, a childhood friend, a coworker, literally anyone, she immediately gets suspicious and starts asking questions, and it is quite obvious that she does not trust me whatsoever, even though I never gave her any reason for this. I also confronted her about this, but it does not seem to have any impact on her behavior. For example, when I saw an optometrist who was a woman, I went there for a 15-minute appointment to inquire about new glasses, and afterwards, my girlfriend asked me all sorts of questions about how old she was, what did we talk about, and all these other things. When I explained to her that the appointment was literally to have my eyes measured for glasses, she told me that she would come with me, and I cannot but wonder whether it was because she wants to make sure that the optometrist doesn't try to hit on me, or something crazy like that. I would never even talk to a random woman like that. It's just not me, and I told her this many times to no effect. In fact, on several occasions, she's asked me whether or not I've spent quality time with another friend that I've introduced her to, and this is literally my friend's girlfriend who I've talked to literally once. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago, she stayed at my place when I went to work because she had some spare vacation days, which she wanted to spend with me during the week. I have a desktop gaming PC at home, and the pin to my PC is the same as my phone. I never explicitly told her the pin, but I guess she must have observed it from when I entered it on my phone screen. But with that in mind, I literally have nothing to hide. She did not ever ask to see my phone or anything like that, but I would never let her anyway because it's still a big breach of my privacy. Anyways, she accessed my messages on Facebook on my computer, and I know this for a fact because I checked whether whether she had logged into my machine on the Windows Event Viewer. I did this only after opening a group chat on Messenger and getting a pop-up message that a person in that conversation is blocked on my account, which I never did. The previous night, she asked me all kinds of questions about my ex-girlfriends, but also their first names. Apparently, the next day, she goes on my Facebook profile and blocks someone with that first name on my friends list, who is actually my university classmate that I don't really talk to much these days anymore. I never confronted her about this, and I don't know whether I even should. I had always had complete trust in her, but after this, I can't say that anymore. Why would she do something like this without talking to me first? Even despite all of the above mentioned, the main issue that I have is that she does not respect my wish to have some time to myself. I simply cannot put up with this, and it literally feels like I'm being suffocated. For example, when I go to the gym, when I want to hang out with my friends, or make some time for some of my other hobbies, she either wants to be included or seems infuriated that I'm doing these things without her. She just cannot grasp the fact that even though we are in a relationship, we are still two individuals, and I literally feel like the only source of her entertainment. When we are together, everything seems fine, but when she leaves my place or I leave hers, she starts acting out like this. I can't even play a video game for 2 hours with my friends after spending the whole weekend with her without her texting me like crazy. I actually feel like in her mind, she would want to be with me 24/7. When I see her on Monday, by the afternoon, she tells me she is sad and wants to see me. If I don't respond to her text messages for like 30 minutes, she just gets irritated and starts questioning my feelings for her, saying hurtful things like I don't care for her and stuff like that. At the same time, when we are together, she always says that she is the happiest in the world with me and she couldn't wish for a better boyfriend. Another example comes from when I went on a family-only vacation that we have planned with my parents months prior to us even dating, and it almost felt like she wanted to come with me without being invited. I just don't understand how she didn't find that inappropriate at the time. We were dating for like a month at the time too. The same thing happened when I went away with my buddies for a hobby of mine for about 5 days. First, she didn't want me to go, even though this is something that I've done for about 7 years now. When I told her I am going, she wanted to come with me, even though she couldn't care less about this particular hobby. When I was there, she kept texting me the entire time, asking me whether I can come back sooner. And when I told her no, she became passive-aggressive. From her messages, I just had the feeling that she wants me to feel bad or guilty for not being with her and instead spending time with someone else. Nowadays, I feel miserable most of the time. I really like her and I care for her. Besides the things that I described above, she really is a nice person. I feel like she truly does love and care for me, and I don't want to lose her. At the same time, I really wonder whether I can even stand this kind of a relationship and for how long. Is there any hope here? I really need an opinion of an unaffected third party because my judgment is clearly clouded by my feelings for her. Deep down, I'm telling myself she will change and that we can address these issues eventually. Do you think it could happen, or will this stay like this forever? We were thinking of moving in together, and for a second, I thought this might solve the issues that she has with wanting to spend a lot of time with me. But at the same time, I'm not sure if it's a good idea because she just does not seem to respect any boundaries, and I really do need my own time to myself. Is moving in together a good idea in this situation? What should I do? This sounds like a really frustrating situation here. Your girlfriend is not respecting your boundaries, and she's deleting people off of your Facebook account all because they had the same name as your ex-girlfriend. That in and of itself is a massive red flag. And from what you've described, I'm sure you love your girlfriend, and I'm sure that there are some positives to this relationship, but there's one red flag after another. 6 months, by the way, is plenty of time to know whether you like this person or not, and true colors are slowly coming out. I also don't think you can change this situation. Moving in together, in my opinion, with this happening is a terrible idea, because now she can keep tabs on you 24/7. Literally, that would be a nightmare. I probably would have lost my mind at this point if I was in the original poster's shoes, especially during activities where I'm spending time with friends or just having time to myself. Like literally, there's nothing wrong with that. And the fact that no matter what you do, she just doesn't trust you is really insulting. So I think reflecting on what your current situation looks like would be really valuable for your current circumstance, because based on what you've described, this honestly does not sound healthy. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.